Conspiracy beneath desert sand. Mysterious triangular structure found in Nevada desert sparks lost civilization theories. A strange triangular formation discovered in the desolate expanse of the Nevada desert has ignited a storm of speculation online, with theories ranging from a long lost civilization to alien intervention. Now we take a deeper look and break down this entire story on the AI podcast.
Welcome to this custom deep dive. I am your host, and I have our resident aviation and defense expert here with me today.
Glad to be here. We have a really fascinating stack of source material to get through today.
We really do. And to kick things off, I want you, the listener, to just picture a very specific scenario in your mind's eye.
Oh, this is the Google Earth thing, right?
Exactly. So imagine you are sitting at your computer, just casually scrolling around on Google Earth. You are dragging your view across the vast, rugged expanses of the remote Nevada desert.
Just miles of absolutely nothing.
Right. For miles and miles, all you see is this brown, tan, and gray topography. It is a chaotic, entirely natural landscape, but then you zoom in.
And that is when it gets weird.
Yeah. Suddenly, sitting right there in the middle of nowhere, just jumping out of the barren terrain, you find a striking geometric triangle carved directly into the earth.
Which clearly does not belong there.
It definitely does not. I mean, it looks highly deliberate. And the moment you spot it, your brain immediately starts racing. Who made this? Why put it here? Are we looking at the remnants of something ancient? Or perhaps something not of this earth at all?
And that visceral reaction, that is precisely what makes accessible satellite imagery so captivating for anyone with an internet connection.
Because it feels like a discovery.
Exactly. When you look down at a desolate landscape and spot crisp geometry, it feels as though you have uncovered a secret that the rest of the world just missed.
Yeah.
Because you are viewing it from orbit, completely removed from any on-the-ground context. Your imagination is basically handed a blank canvas without the visual cues of human scale. It is very easy for the mind to wander into the realm of science fiction.
Which brings us to the mission of our deep dive into the source material today. We are looking at sources detailing not just one, but two viral desert triangles located out there in Nevada.
Two very different triangles, I should add.
Right. And our goal today is to cut straight through all that wild internet speculation. We want to separate the prevailing conspiracy theories from the grounded historical facts and really understand why these specific desert environments play such powerful tricks on our modern eyes.
Sounds like a plan.
Okay, let's unpack this. We are starting with the first anomaly.
Yeah, the first structure is a really remarkable piece of geometry when you view it from above.
And the sources provide a highly specific location for this one. For those of you who want to punch this into your own maps later, the coordinates are 40.35322, Natick 11 scene, .34707.
That sits right near Battle Mountain, Nevada.
Yes, Battle Mountain. And when you locate that exact spot from a satellite perspective, you are looking at an almost exact equilateral triangle. Each side is remarkably straight, forming this distinct outline against the rugged terrain.
And if you look closely at the center of it,
right, inside the center of this triangle, there is a large empty space, but it contains faint linear markings that clearly hint at past human activity. Unsurprisingly, when this formation was spotted by users on Google Earth, it completely went viral across social media platforms.
and the public reaction followed a very familiar, highly dramatized pattern.
Oh, totally. The sources actually captured some of the specific internet reactions, and they are quite creative. People were looking at this crisp triangle and declaring it to be a lost man-made pyramid.
A pyramid in Nevada.
Yeah. Others claimed it was a very ancient relic of a forgotten civilization. But my personal favorite theory from the sources is the user who suggested this shape could be a universal intergalactic warning sign.
A warning sign.
Yeah, essentially a giant terrestrial yield sign for visiting UFOs navigating the solar system.
What's fascinating here is how our collective pattern recognition bypasses recent human history entirely and jumps straight to antiquity or, intergalactic travel.
So we skip right over the logical stuff.
We do. But when aviation historians look at those exact coordinates, they see a reality that is far more grounded. That large triangle is the Buffalo Valley Intermediate Field.
The Buffalo Valley Intermediate Field. So walk us through the history of this site, because the timeline presented in the sources reveals a lot about that specific era.
Sure, so this is a piece of infrastructure built between the 1930s and the 1940s.
Okay.
During the early days of American aviation, particularly as the transcontinental airway system was being developed, these triangular emergency airfields were established all across the western United States.
So they were fairly common back then.
Very common. They served as vital lifelines for early mail and passenger routes.
The structural design is what really stands out in the research, though. I mean, when you look at a modern international airport today, the runways are just long, linear strips of tarmac. Why put in the strenuous effort to carve out an equilateral triangle in the hard desert dirt?
It comes down to the severe mechanical limitations of 1930s aviation. We are talking about an era long before advanced avionics.
No computers doing the work for you.
Exactly. No automated landing gear, no sophisticated navigation computers. For those early pilots, wind direction was literally a matter of life and death. They needed to land directly into the wind to maintain adequate lift and control at low approach speeds.
Given the lightweight taildragger aircraft they were flying in the 30s, a sudden desert crosswind without modern instrumentation was essentially a death sentence.
It was.
So the triangle gave them an out.
Precisely. Landing in a strong crosswind with those flimsy airframes was lethal. So engineers designed these emergency airfields with 3 intersecting runways forming a triangle.
Which covers all the bases.
Right. This configuration guaranteed that no matter which direction the wind was sweeping across the desert valley that afternoon, a pilot experiencing engine trouble could approach from a heading that allowed them to land safely into the wind. It was an ingenious, purely mechanical safety feature.
That represents a fascinating paradigm shift. Buffalo Valley is a perfect example of an era where human infrastructure had to adapt entirely to the vulnerabilities of the machine.
That is a great way to put it.
Because today, the machine adapts. A modern commercial jet with advanced radar and automated crosswind landing capabilities adapts to the environment. But back in the 1930s, for you listening, think about it. Those pilots were flying by visual navigation, scanning the desolate ground for a giant dirt triangle just to safely deliver the mail.
Furthermore, these fields were entirely unpaved. They were nothing more than cleared, flattened earth. Over the ensuing decades, as aviation technology rapidly advanced and planes could fly higher and farther without needing emergency stops every 100 miles, these fields were just abandoned.
Left to the harsh Nevada weather.
Left to the elements. What remains today are these faint geometric scars visible only from high altitudes. So what looks like an unexplainable mystery to a casual internet user is actually a forgotten stepping stone in the evolution of flight.
Buffalo Valley shows us how early aviation struggled against the elements. But if we jump forward a few decades and look at our second coordinate, we see how modern aviation struggles against detection.
This is a very different kind of struggle.
Yeah, here's where it gets really interesting. Our stack of sources details a second desert triangle found just last year, and the location changes the entire context of the discussion.
The location alone is enough to put this second anomaly under an intense microscope.
The coordinates for this second site are 37.24624 degrees north, 115.82334 degrees west. And unlike the first triangle sitting out in the open near Battle Mountain, this structure sits squarely inside a highly classified military zone.
Not just any military zone either.
No. Officially, this restricted area is designated as Homey Airport near Groom Lake. But to the general public, and to you listening, it is known globally by its pop culture moniker, Area 51.
The moment you attach Area 51 to any aerial photograph, the level of scrutiny and speculation changes entirely.
Oh, overnight. And the visual from the satellite imagery is striking. You are not looking at flat runways scraped into the dirt this time. You are looking at an imposing physical structure. It stands so tall that you can clearly see it casting an elongated shadow across the desert floor.
A very distinct shadow.
Very distinct. And surrounding this tower is a looping dirt mound that encloses the immediate area.
Naturally, the internet theories for this site leaned heavily into the folklore surrounding the location.
The sources note that a Facebook user took one look at the elongated shadow and the looping mound and confidently declared the structure to be a very accurate sundial.
A giant Area 51 sundial.
Oh, right. Meanwhile, over on Reddit, users were leaning into the mythology, joking that this was a spot where aliens test their white powders.
Factually.
While others insisted it was definitive proof of extraterrestrial technology being reverse engineered by the military.
It is entirely predictable that people's minds go there. I mean, when you have a restricted military installation steeped in decades of mythology, every shadow is viewed through a lens of suspicion.
You see what you want to see.
Exactly.
Yeah.
However, defense analysts reviewing the exact same satellite imagery offer a clear, practical explanation for this tower.
According to the defense analysis in our sources, this structure is utilized for radar cross-section testing, or RCS testing.
That is correct. When defense contractors and the military are developing next-generation stealth aircraft, they need highly accurate data on exactly how detectable those airframes will be to adversary radar systems.
So they have to test them in the real world.
Yes. To gather that data, they took the physical aircraft prototypes, or sometimes scaled models, and mount them on top of these elevated pylons.
But why build a permanent 190-foot tower? Wouldn't it be easier and more realistic to test radar detectability by just flying the prototype in the air and tracking it?
It comes down to the physics of radar and a problem called ground clutter.
Ground clutter.
Right. If you try to test a plane's radar signature while it is sitting on the tarmac, the radar waves you shoot at it will bounce off the earth, the surrounding buildings, the ground equipment, everything. All of that environmental bounce corrupts the data.
Because you cannot tell what is the plane and what is a parked truck.
Exactly. To get a true, pristine measurement of just the aircraft's signature, you have to mathematically isolate it. Hoisting the prototype 190 feet into the air physically separates the airframe from the ground clutter, allowing engineers to hit it with radar waves from various angles and measure the exact return signal against an empty sky.
That makes total sense when you consider the looping dirt mound visible in the satellite photos. The sources suggest those mounds could be there to deflect ground-level signals or hide the support equipment from interfering with the highly sensitive testing environment.
Yes. If we connect this to the bigger picture, the timeline of this structure's existence perfectly illustrates how military secrecy breeds public conspiracy. The sources indicate this tower was constructed roughly 2 decades ago.
Wow.
Yet it was only officially acknowledged by the United States government in 2013.
So for years, anyone scanning the globe could spot this gigantic tower casting a massive shadow inside the most famous classified base on Earth, and the official stance from the government was total silence.
And a vacuum of official information will always be filled by public imagination. You combine a highly unusual geometric testing apparatus with strict military classification, and it is absolutely no surprise that such structures naturally fuel wild speculation.
So what does this all mean for us? We have 2 entirely different triangles. One is a flat dirt runway built for biplanes in the 1930s, and the other is a modern 190-foot tall radar testing tower for stealth fighters. Yet both of them triggered the exact same flavor of intergalactic theories online. What is it about the Nevada landscape that short-circuits our analytical thinking?
It really comes down to the unique geological properties of the desert acting as a preservation medium.
How so?
Think about other environments. In a dense forest, vegetation rapidly overgrows and consumes human infrastructure. In a coastal region, water and weather constantly erode the landscape. But the Nevada desert features minimal vegetation, a very arid climate, and remarkably low erosion rates.
The environment essentially freezes human activity in time.
It does. Because of those geological properties, a faint outline of an unpaved airstrip from 1935 remains crisply visible from low Earth orbit decades later. The desert preserves geometry. But the real insight we need to pull from these sources is about the psychology of context collapse.
Context collapse. How does that apply to someone looking at Google Earth?
When you view these images from orbit, you are stripped of all local context. You are not standing in the dust seeing the old tire tracks, the weathered wood of a surveyor's stake, or the mundane access roads leading to a radar facility.
You just see the shape.
You are only seeing pristine geometric shapes set against a vast, chaotic expanse of nature. When human beings are presented with geometry without historical context, our pattern-thinking brains actively try to solve the puzzle.
We want a story.
We need a story. And because the setting, the sweeping, silent, desolate desert already feels otherworldly, we naturally reach for otherworldly explanations.
We do not see an equilateral triangle and think, oh, that is a 1930s safety feature designed for lightweight airframes. We think that is a lost civilization.
This raises an important point about how we process visual information in the digital age. These barren, preserved landscapes will always capture public curiosity because they're visually striking. But in nearly every case, digging into the historical and engineering research reveals that human ingenuity, not extraterrestrial activity, provides the true answer.
To summarize our takeaways for you listening right now, the next time a viral post circulates about a mysterious shape in the desert, keep the historical context in mind. The Battle Mountain Triangle is a brilliant relic of early aviation engineering, designed to keep male pilots alive in hostile conditions.
And the Area 51 structure is a highly practical radar testing apparatus vital for modern defense development.
The real story is always rooted in human history and human engineering.
And we should fully expect these discoveries to continue. The sources highlight a great point. As long as satellite imagery remains publicly accessible, allowing anyone to scroll across the globe from their living room, these environments will continue to inspire public debate and generate new theories.
It is the ultimate paradox of our current information age. And that actually brings me to a final thought I want to leave you with today. Something for you to mull over that builds on this theme of satellite imagery and forgotten history.
It is a fascinating space to think about.
Consider how our modern technology allows absolutely anyone with a smartphone to view the entire planet from orbit with breathtaking clarity. Yet that exact same technology often makes us entirely blind to our own recent past. Is it possible that the real mystery isn't what is hiding out there in the desert, but rather how incredibly quickly human civilization forgets its own technological stepping stones the exact second they become obsolete?
That is a great question to end on.
Thank you for joining us on this deep dive into the source material today. Keep scrolling, keep asking questions, and most importantly, keep your curiosity alive. We will catch you next time.
Okay, one question for you. If the Nevada Triangle is truly just a 1930s emergency airfield, why does its near-perfected equilateral shape still spark an ancient civilization theories in the age of satellite transparency? Don't forget to comment it. Thanks.